Welcome back, guys, to another lecture, the last one of today. Just waiting for a few of you to trickle in. Our apologies. I know there was a bit of a schedule mishap with the timing. It said 4:30 in the reminder email, but it should have been 4. So we're just waiting a few minutes till everyone saw that email that we just sent out to correct the schedule time. But today we have Michel Rademaker, who you have already previously seen in one of the previous lectures, who explained the cyber resilience game to all of you, which I hope everyone has been playing over the past week or so. And today he will be giving a result session of this game, and then we'll also be explaining the challenge session of the game. And if you don't remember Michel, he is the Deputy Director of the Hague Center for Strategic Studies, which is one of the organizers of the Cybersecurity School, and he's also one of the co-founders of HCSS. He's also the initiator of SANCS and has previously hosted a bunch of cybersecurity schools with India. And because those were so successful, we decided to open it up to South Africa. And this is obviously the first iteration of that. Furthermore, Michel, his fields of expertise include security strategy, policy, concepts and doctrines, technology assessments, geopolitical and economic security implications of climate change, raw materials, and energy supply and serious gaming techniques. And that is what he will be discussing with you today. So without further ado, Michel, the digital floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, and welcome all. Thanks again for having me on the lecturing a bit. In this case, I'm not lecturing too much, but I'm going to reflect a bit on the results of the series game. I hope that you all enjoyed it. I think it is difficult at some point, and it could also be easy. The intent actually was to have you play it, maybe even multiple rounds, because you could log in for just a couple of times for a couple of minutes, or you played it extensively for a couple of hours is also possible. What I think is important for, and that was one of the aims of the game, is that you browsed all the capability cards, so you learned a bit about the concepts that were hidden behind the titles of the various cards. And it would also show you, I think, a bit of the depth and breadth of what cyber and security entails, actually. So you did have to play cards that you would claim to be more from a diplomatic angle or military angle, intelligence and counterintelligence, but also economic, law enforcement, and also, and that's quite an important one, also public-private partnerships, which is for many countries not a given, actually. So that is interesting. And so when I look at the results, I would at least make a compliment for the many of you that played, that you did quite an extensive work in the game. You played all the cards, all 46. What we would normally do if we have an in-person or a game where we do a bit more steps, actually, is that we would also give you the opportunity to prioritize, basically meaning we create scarcity. That's sad, is that you could only say in the end, when the game is finished, you played all the cards, that you could say select maximum of 10 cards. And that means that you then have to carefully select those capability cards that you think are bringing the most bang for the buck, as they would say. We did not do that at this point because it's not about decision making, but basically about awareness and understanding and learning the terminologies. But at the same time, if you look at the results, and that's what I'm going to do a bit with you, you'll see some trends that I think are obvious on the one hand, but maybe not for all of you. So what I would like to do is to come up with some observations. If you think you want to add something or want to ask a question, please do so and use the chat. I was told, not the Q&A, but the chat. It might even be that I ask Berend, because Berend will monitor the screen to click on a certain capability card and then see who is giving what kind of arguments. And then it will be interesting if you're online and are willing to raise your voice or to type in your observation or your remark, then that would maybe enhance a bit of the interactivity of this meeting. But first, let me do a couple of observations. So the first one is that all the cards were played, and that most of the cards have quite extensive arguments put in place for playing the cards. So, Berend, if you would just go to card number 1 on the right-hand top side. No, on the right-hand top side. So you see it shows on different places. What is important to understand is that there's no right or wrong. What is interesting is that depending on where you come from, so which country you are from, it might be that a government or a government entity has different responsibilities than in another country. So you could come up with an idea or a capability, and you would say this is diplomatic or this will be economic. And depending on how in your country the capability is being addressed and or mandated to which department, you might play it on a different place. But what you see here as an example, that in this case, adopting and enforcing economic sanctions, is something that is played on various places on the board. You could indeed see it's law enforcement. You need to have law enforcement probably capabilities to adopt and enforce indeed economic sanctions. But it might be a decision made by diplomats. So here's already the discussion how in your country this decision would be made. If I reflect on it from the Dutch perspective, the Netherlands, then it probably is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs together with the Ministry of Economic Affairs and maybe even the Ministry of Justice to discuss whether or not the economic sanction would prevail, and who is going to implement it, and who's going to monitor it, and who's going to enforce it if possible at all. Because of course in international relations, enforcement is not per definition easy. But this is just an example. I would like to go to another one, which is Berend, that's 46. If you go to the bottom, 46, and you hover over it, yeah, you see this one is played just once. Deploy law enforcement emergency response teams. So it could be, I'm not sure if you click on 46 itself, Berend, on the board, you see that there were 20 people commenting on it. It's played just once, and if you go scroll down a bit, maybe it's so you see some arguments. So both law enforcement and diplomacy strategies, have have a critical role to play in the deployment of law enforcement. Emergency response teams, depending on the nature and scale, one might even need to deploy all strategies as applicable to certain emergencies like disasters. And that's indeed. So it is a matter of seriousness of what you want to do and what is necessary. So this is a way to look at it. So on in this case on 46, which was only played once, which I found surprisingly low, but at the same time there were a lot of people having it commented, which is good. Another one that I found interesting is 43. You're already on it. 43 is played 3 times as far, at least in 3 boxes. What I find interesting on this one is that it's being claimed to be a diplomatic activity. So diplomats should take the lead in this, as I translate this. The question is whether this is true, yes or no. Let me give you an example. And it's debatable at this point in time still. But for example, going back to the Netherlands, because I know the Netherlands the best on that in this way, is that our intelligence services, for example, are not per definition willing and or allowed to share all the intel that they have on certain attacks. For example, on the other hand, companies that are being attacked are often not very willing to be open on the fact that they are attacked, or what the kind of attack was, or the kind of damage that they experience from a attack. At the same time, and that's why I come up to this 43 one, it's very important to get some transparency, because we often see we as the system of cybersecurity professionals, all in all, are in the dark. We don't really know what's happening. Let me give you an example. We currently, if you would go to the website of the Hague Center for Strategic Studies, go to the Data Lab, and you'll click on cyber transparency. You'll find a couple of monitors, and one of the monitors is a Cyber Arms Watch, and the Cyber Arms Watch tries to elaborate on, for 60 countries, their offensive capability, the official statements made by countries on their offensive capability versus the perceived capability. And the perceived capability is something that organizations like not only HSS, but organizations that are watching out on cybersecurity incidents report on. And the difference between the two is then what we would call the transparency index. And why is that important? Well, give the example, if you go back to the 1950s of the nuclear age, we knew that a couple of countries had nuclear capacities, military nuclear capacities, but we did not know how much, we did not know their intent, and especially we did not know how to communicate with them on preventing misinterpretation. So at some point you got these international agreements on how to deal with nuclear capacities, the number of nuclear warheads, but also the red line, just the telephone between the various nuclear countries, so that when there was a misinterpretation, or at least the idea we might misinterpret something, you could call the other and you would know they'll pick up the phone quickly, so that we can prevent misunderstandings and even nuclear activity. This is currently still worldwide missing with cybersecurity. So we advocate for more transparency. And that is not something only for diplomats, it's also for businesses and other organizations. One of these activities, for example, is that was something that was that started as an initiative in the Netherlands, is coordinated vulnerability disclosure. So you're a hacker, a white hat hacker, so and you'll find some weak spots in, for example, the HSS website. Instead of exploiting it or make it open and public, then you would first go to, in this case, HSS, and tell, hey, we saw these and these vulnerabilities at your website. You better repair. And then you would give the organization, say 2 weeks, to repair that vulnerability. And that's what's called responsible disclosure. And that's also a way of transparency. Well, so there's a couple of these kind of examples. That's on the individual cards. If I now look at the rows, for example, so look in diplomacy, there's quite well filled. The same with military and the others as well. Law enforcement also, but a little bit less. But interestingly enough, if you go to public-private to the bottom, you see that I think there the most cards are played there, which is a good sign actually, because most of the cyber capabilities and infrastructures are in the hands of private entities. So governments need to and should work together with the private sector. And so they have a mutual responsibility to ensure the cybersecurity of their systems and cyberspace as a whole. Then you see that another thing, if you look at the columns, you see that most of the capability cards are played as part of protection and prevention. And of course, that is also very logic, because most of the work that could be done is actually indeed preventing things getting worse. So although it seems that you have to do a lot of investments in protection and prevention, in the end, it will be more cheaper to do it in that stage than in the response phase, for example. In the response phase, you're only repairing actually what went wrong already. So you then have probably double the cost and the lack of availability of your systems. So I think this is also a very positive sign to observe. Then you see some quite some cards also played as part of the deterrence column. Let's say it like that, the deterrence column. What in practice means is that deterrence is defined as the capability and the willingness to put in the capability to at work. So from both a civilian and or a governmental point of view, deterrence only works when you not only show that you have capability, but also willing to put it in action. And that's also where transparency comes in, as I said. If you look at the Cyber Arms Watch on our website, you might share it later on, Stephanie or Berend, the link. Transparency will also help. If you look at, for example, in that Cyber Transparency Monitor, the Cyber Arms Watch as it's called, and you look at America, that you see that they have the highest score in capability, but also the highest score in transparency. And that means in the end that they have a credible force and are willing to use it. So they are both predictable, at the same time showing force and showing will. And that's the deterrence part. So these elements together work also to make clear to the rest of the world what is happening with the capacity of a certain country and the predictability of it, and in that case, preventing misinterpretations, which in the end would destabilize cyberspace. Another issue, I think, what is important nowadays, and that's where different belief systems hit the road. So, for example, if you look at Europe versus China versus Russia, you see that when we talk about cybersecurity in Europe, we talk about the cybersecurity of the infrastructures. And if you talk with Chinese or Russians on cybersecurity, they talk about the content of what's going through the infrastructure as well. That means that they are also worried about the control over the content in cyberspace. So you should just assume that when you're talking about cybersecurity, you talk the same as in other states that have more autocratic regimes, where they are more focused on content and containment than the other way around. So that's, I think, another observation. Then I would also like to go to the one that I was just preparing, actually, military forces 41. And if you click on it, you'll see that it is being played as in response or protection or prevention or preparedness. Again, here, in many countries, some of the capability that has this function is part of the military, and especially in the defense, of course, but it depends per country whether this is a responsibility to just defend your own military in cyberspace or defend your whole country in cyberspace. In the Netherlands, for example, the military is first and foremost responsible for protecting their own cyber capability, not so much the capability of the whole of the Netherlands or all the infrastructures. So it's always important to understand a bit how to interpret a certain capability. And maybe if there are no questions, another interesting thing. If I would give you the opportunity to just select 10 capability cards out of the 47 you played, then you could ask yourself, okay, I'll pick this one, I'll pick that one up because I think they're most important. But what you could also think about is to think in value chains. So it might be that certain capabilities in combination with others have the best bang for the buck, so to say. So the causality between various capabilities is something to consider as well. Let me give you an example, a military example, actually, because you can make it so clear in military terms. If I, as a country, would like to have offensive capabilities, and I'd like to, let's say, attack another country with cyber arms, actually, and at the same time, my cyber defense capability is not really well, then I'll probably be wiped out in a couple of minutes when I start doing an attack. So it means in practice that if you want to be good at cyber offensive, you better be very good at cyber defense first. So there's some logic and some causality between the two. In order to be good at defensive, you need to be very good at defense. And so there are many more of these examples, I think. But all in all, I'm quite I'm quite impressed on how detailed and how many of you played all the cards. And yeah, I was wondering actually if there's still a question that I should or could respond to, or maybe Noel, I know you're in the game as well. Do you have any reflections from the point of maybe South African point of view?
Thanks, Michel. Yes, so I think that I'm really impressed with the way that the students dealt with this, because, you know, from a South African or Southern African point of view, I don't think we have enough exposure to the, shall we call it, sort of almost nascent cyber wargaming, you know, decisions that need to be made under pressure. And I think the students really embraced this and did well, given the fact that many of the students actually coming off a beginner's type of base. So I think they showed considerable maturity in their decision making. And I really see a space, a very significant space for this type of activity on a more sort of extended learning level, for students to develop as they go along. You know, I think if they were actually able to go back after the end of this course and do it again, that probably, come up with a even more mature type of decision making. So, I think being able to actually work with material and be forced to make decisions and understand why you're making those decisions is really important for exploring and starting to reflect on the knowledge that you've already gathered. And I was very impressed with the quality of some of the responses.
Yeah, I can only congratulate indeed all the players with this. Really good, and it might be something, Noel, that we might later on this year still plan to have a separate exercise again, just a game, where we maybe also play one or two extra stages, actually, because we only played the card play, but not the decision making on scarcity and maybe some extra discussions. Partly also because we are a big group, so I could imagine that if we have a smaller group, let's say 20 or 40 people that are willing to play it, and we could play it maybe for 2 hours at the same time, so not asynchronous but synchronic. So basically play in person online, then we could have more in-depth discussions, and that would be bring some extra learning curve as well for some of the students. I see already a couple of people applauding to it. So why don't we schedule something later this year? Okay, that's a good.
I think that's an excellent idea, Michel, and I think there would definitely be students lining up for a place in that competition, in that playoff.
Right.
Very good idea. Thank you.
Okay. If there are any students that have a question, please put it in the chat. Otherwise, I think for this moment, I'm done with explaining a bit and observing a bit on the game. How much? Oh yeah, here's the question: how much percentage of the budget do you experience or would advise one allocates to each capability? Oh yeah, that's a nice question, actually. That's a very difficult one. Let me tell you, and I just give an example, actually. So we did this game with the Austrian military at some point. Small team, 8 people. They wanted to do this kind of serious game to make some decisions before their country went to elections, and they hoped for some money at the Minister of Defense, and they want to be prepared for having some options to spend the money. So we did a couple of these rounds. We played the cards, and then at some point they said, yeah, we should have a special SOC, a Security Operations Center. And what we did actually is also, we did it in not an online, but in a tabletop version. And then the question was, okay, how much does a SOC cost? And I said, I don't have a clue, but let's assume it's 50 million euros, which is a lot of money, but say 50 million. And then they had a couple of other cards that were a bit less expensive. But then you can ask yourself the question of cost versus effectivity. And in the end, when you do that, you can do that on a scale. So on a cost effectivity scale, you can plot in a graph, you can plot all your cards. And in the end, they decided, well, the SOC is very expensive, but it's very useful, so we should make that investment. So that's the way it is. So you cannot say a SOC is 50 million or 10 million or only 5 million. It's always relative. And that's also the reason that I said that normally if you would play this in more extensive, then we would introduce scarcity. You can't have it all. So you have to make selections of cards that you want to play. So we first let them play whatever they like. Often time constraint is also helping. You can't play all the cards within an hour, so you have to select anyway. But it always helps to put in scarcity, because that makes everybody being on his toes to select what is important and what is maybe less important. Also taking in account the combinations, the causality. Yeah, some measures might be very cheap and very effective. Those are the kind of no-brainers. Please do as soon as possible. Others might be very expensive but very effective at the same time. So probably also do. Yeah, so that's my question to the percentage. It's not easy. Any other question? Did I miss any questions earlier on in the chat, guys?
Michelle, there was just one, which Stephanie's already answered, from Deirdre Marais, who asked the question. Then she said, I didn't get a chance to play the game. Will it remain open to play during the next weeks? So that was the only other question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I see another one on effectiveness. Yeah, well, what I would suggest actually that we before the end of this school plan a 2-hour online game where we all play together at the same time. And let's say that we have 40 people as a kind of max, because then the interaction is still possible. And I think maybe Berend, you could do a collection of those willing to then play that online version. And we start planning for it, I guess, somewhere in May or June, something. There's this question on effectiveness. Oh yeah, so, well, I did indeed touch upon effectiveness already, indeed, on as a critical factor. But effectiveness is also in combination with money. If it's very cheap, then you might just put it in as well, if you have the money. Okay. If there are no more questions, then I suggest that we swap to the challenges. Is that okay? Okay. Good. Well, the challenges. First of all, let me thank the challenge providers, which are CSI, C2 Liquid, and DataGrade. They provided challenges. So CSI provided the challenge mitigating strategic cyber threats. Mitigating strategic cyber threats, that's a nice one. I won't go over the text of them itself. I will just allude on what we expect you as teams to do, actually, because you can read it out yourself. C2 Liquid provided two, one on AI regulation. It's interesting to see, and it's a bit early stage now, but we are being asked by our Ministry of Foreign Affairs to set up the Secretariat of the Global Commission on Responsible AI in the military domain. So this challenge on AI regulation is something that we are working on as a secretariat, together with 15 commissioners and probably 40 experts worldwide. So if you're interested in that one, follow the GC Reaim tab on our website, and there will be newsletters you can sign up to at some point. So that is the one challenge of C2 Liquid, and the other one is improving cyber literacy. Well, you experienced a bit already following this course, of course. The question is of how can we even further this cyber literacy. And on DataGrade, it has a challenge on infrastructure cyber resilience. And of course, resilience is something that's not a black and white. Resilience is also about able to adapt to punches you get, to maybe even recover better than you were, or at least, as sometimes it's being called, have graceful degradation, meaning that your functionality of your cyberspace might be hampered, but still the function is there. So that's an interesting one. So the ideas of the challenges is, of course, that you learn to do a couple of things. First of all, you have to dive into such a topic and be analytical about it. So not just jump on to the first conclusion you think is the solution, but do your research a bit. That's one. Secondly is, like in normal life, you'll be part of a team, a bigger team. You're not on your own. And that means that you probably also are in teams with various disciplines. So one of the ideas that we hope for during this challenge period for you is that you learn from the other disciplines, so other students. We have people with an alpha, beta, or gamma background, so policymakers, or law, or technical, and you need to learn the jargon of each other to understand each other, because you might talk the same topic using different words, or you think you start talking the same topic, but using the same words, but with a different meaning. And in the end, for your effectiveness in your professional career, you need to understand that jargon and text differs, and it's important to understand how you align together. So that's another thing. And it's not only the jargon, but also you'll appreciate, hopefully, the various inputs that your colleagues could bring to the table on topics you never thought of would be applicable to the challenge at hand. So what I've seen in the past on the students working on these challenges, that they actually surprise themselves in finding out solutions or disciplines that they never were aware of that existed actually. And I think that's another hope for this challenge period. Today, I think you need to go quickly to the website, look at the various challenges there are, and make your pick. I think it's being distributed via a form on email as well. And so ideally, you have given us your preference before tomorrow, 12. Yeah, that's one. The allocation, so in which challenge you are and what the team construct is, will then be available Friday the 5th, 1800 p.m. And ideally, I know that Berend is working hard on it to come up with this mixed team, as I said. Probably depending a bit how many people want to play or want to participate in the challenge, some 8 to 10 people ideally. Yeah, so that's important. Another thing is, as soon as we tell you what the team is that you're in, you as a team have to conclude as soon as possible with one point of contact. Who will be the point of contact for us, for Berend and for Stephanie and Noel, if necessary? Because we don't want to have asked questions by everybody in one team. So be better coordinate, and that's already a task in itself. So part of the teamwork is that you also conclude on who should be in the point of contact, or maybe even the lead. That's up to you how to design that. Another thing is that you can read, of course, what the challenge is, but we also provide you with what we call a mentor session. So on Monday, April the 8th, from 1600 to 1700, for each challenge, there will be a possibility to do a Q&A with the mentor. The mentors will be able to explain a bit of the intent behind the challenge, and of course can answer some of your questions. So ideally, if you would be able to do that as soon as possible, you might already collect a couple of questions that you want to raise for the mentor, and that you can ask them. So and hopefully then these questions will be answered sufficiently. Then of course you're going to work on the challenge, and the format is free. Whatever you want to do and how you want to do it, that's up to you. What we want you to do in the end is providing a maximum 3 minutes video, maximum 3, not 3 minutes 5 seconds, just maximum 3 minutes, to explain the challenge, to explain the way you worked on it, the analysis that you did, and the solutions that you came up with, ideally also with some arguments. And 3 minutes seems to be very short. It is short, but at the same time, if you have a really good solution, then 3 minutes is okay. So that's something that we learned. And the reason for doing it, that in the practice of your professional lives, you might be requested to do to come up with an answer to a certain challenge, and you might have an hour, but it might also be that you only have a couple of minutes. And it's the less time you have, the more sharp you have to be on what you precisely want to get across to decision makers, for example. So this is also a training in not being long, but being very precise and to the point. And nowadays, capabilities, I think most of you made a YouTube or did at least see a lot of YouTubes, smaller ones as well. This is a challenge a bit in itself. So what you will do, you will have your YouTube made and will provide it to Berend and Stephanie. They will upload it unlisted, so you can't see it on the internet. And you have to provide that the 17th of April before 12 o'clock. Before 12 o'clock, you'll get this in an email. Also, there's all these numbers and dates, etc. But so that's important. 3 minutes, no longer. 17th of April, 12 o'clock. What we will do is we will at some point release. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. It's 16th of April, not the 17th. 16th of April. By the time that all the challenges are provided to Berend and or Stephanie, at some point we will release them publicly. And that is the moment that you as a team can try to get as much as possible likes on your socials. Because, and that's important, the team of each challenge that has the most likes, and suppose we have 40 teams, 4 challenges, the best 3 teams per challenge will be assessed further on by the judges, which are the mentors and your school team, school organizer team. And that means that from these, let's say 40 teams, 4 teams will end up top. These 4 teams will then be announced as the winners for each challenge on the 17th. And on the 18th, we will have the closing ceremony of the school, and there we will show the winning videos with a couple of minutes with Q&A of the teams as well. So at least the point of contact or someone else, or ideally the whole team, should be in that closing ceremony. And then be discussed and Q&A a little bit. So, but I think the 3 minutes with 2, 3, 4 minutes max and Q&A per team is will do the trick. And then we probably also have a kind of Wheel of Fortune ceremony to pick out the best individual of the whole session. But that's for later on. I think for this moment in time, this is the procedure. You'll be guided a bit more by the mentors. So the mentors will explain at some point, if you after you're having your mentor session, there are still a question to be answered, then via the point of contact, send the question to your mentor, and he or she could provide the answer. If it's a more general answer that is useful for everybody, then it will be sent to all the other teams of that challenge. Any questions so far on the process of the challenges? No questions?
Yeah, there is one from Deirdre Marie. Stephanie's answered it, but it's on where can I find the challenge information? And to the best of my knowledge, the best place to go is to the website.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's on
just
there.
piggybacking off of that, Noelle, we sent an email with the challenge information with a link to our website. And on the website, there's also the link to the survey to fill in your challenge preferences. And we've also posted the information in the chat box, not the Q&A box. For this lecture, we had both open in case there were more questions. So please go to the chat box if you haven't seen anything. But either way, if you check out the website link that we sent for the South African Netherlands Cybersecurity School, under the challenge button, you will find the information. And if you check the emails that we sent, should cover all the bases.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Great. So without further ado then, I think the challenge is open for working on it. I don't have extra information to share at this point in time. So Noelle, maybe from your side, any observations still?
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, I'd strongly encourage the students to enroll for the challenges. I think there's a big difference between taking the course as you've done up to now and then actually having the experience of the challenge and that extra experience and application, learning to work as a team, learning to think strategically and present your case. I think it's great CV building. It's great CV building opportunity. There's an additional certificate for the challenges, and I would really strongly encourage you to now go and put your knowledge to good use. And, as Michelle said, learning to get your message over succinctly. Think on the level of a national security advisor, for example, and get your message over. I think it's a wonderful learning opportunity and a good opportunity to stand up and be counted. So, go and enroll. And having said that, be loyal to your teammates. So once you're enrolled in the challenge, you work together as a team and you do your bit is what I'd like to encourage you to do. But we're really looking forward to seeing you in the challenges. And there's actually 4 really nice ones. There's something for everybody. So please, don't be daunted. This is it. This is where the rubber hits the road. So roll up your sleeves and go and register. For those of you who may have come in a bit late, registration closes at 12 tomorrow. The registration is on the website, the SANCS website. So go and have a look as soon as we leave here, please.
Great. Thank you for an extra push here, Noelle. No, I hope that a lot will, and so for those that were missing out today on following this explanation, please encourage your teammates and the others that you know around you following this course as well to also sign up. You cannot give a preference with whom you would like to be in a team, because that is something that in real life is also not a pick that you can make. Actually, you're being automatically put in teams because you're having a new employment and there are other colleagues there already. So this is a bit how real life works as well. So I hope you enjoy it and look forward to the results. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, great. Well, if everyone is finished, Michelle, it seems like you're done. We have our Mentimeter of today. So as you all know, that is optional. I will be sharing my screen and you can join the link. You know the drill. Go to menti.com and in one moment you will see the code that you have to fill in. Here we go. So we started off with Brett van Niekerk's lecture, IoT, Internet of Things Security. Can everybody see my screen? I think it's just loading. Okay, great. So I'm just going to wait for people to join at menti.com using the code 8334-8917. See, a couple of you are logged on already. I'll just give it a couple minutes. I know it's been a long day today. We've been in lecture since 1:30 p.m., but this is a fun way to round up the day and see if you've retained any information.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you all. I have to go to a next appointment. Success.
All right, thanks, Michel.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, I see about 20-ish people on. How many people are left on the call?
200.
Okay, I'll give it a bit. Guys, don't be shy. This is fun. This is not graded. This is not towards attendance or anything. It's literally just for fun and to see what you've learned. So don't be shy. Okay, I will give it another minute or so and then we'll start. I'm trying to be respectful of everyone's time and we're almost at 5 p.m. So we'll try and make this snappy. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start. If you still want to join after I've started, that's fine. Without further ado, Brett van Niekerk's lecture. So we have question number 1. What is a primary concern of IoT security? Is it A, high costs of IoT devices, B, the vast number of connected devices, C, slow internet speeds, or D, lack of consumer interest? What do the majority of you think? Okay, I think just about everyone has voted. I'm going to reveal the answer. Correct. B, the vast number of connected devices. Number 2, how does the diversity of IoT devices affect security? A, makes it simpler. B, no impact. C, creates challenges in standardizing security measures. Or D, reduces the number of vulnerabilities. Okay, most of you seem to think it's C. I think everybody's voted. I'm gonna reveal it. C, creates challenges in standardizing security measures. Not bad, off to a good start. Number 3, what is important for securing IoT devices? A, regularly changing device locations. B, ensuring devices are physically secure. C, strong password protection and encryption. Or D, avoiding the use of IoT devices. Okay, a few of you seem to think it's C, most of you seem to think it's or B, but most of you seem to think it's C. A little bit more of a divide on this question. Let's see who's correct. It is C, strong password protection and encryption. On to the next one. How does IoT impact data privacy? A, improves privacy. B, no impact. C, increases concerns due to extensive data collection. Or D, only affects certain types of data. Cast your votes. What do we think? What did Brett van Niekerk teach you this afternoon? Okay, time to reveal. Correct. Again, you guys are on a roll. Increases concerns due to extensive data collection. Question number 5. What role does firmware play in IoT security? A, no role. B, minor role. C, critical for device integrity and security. Or D, only important for certain devices. Everybody's confidently going for C. Maybe it's reverse psychology that we put all of the answers as C. Who knows? Okay, somebody thinks it's D. All right, let's have a look. Correct again. Critical for device integrity and security. Question number 6. What challenge does the integration of IoT with traditional IT systems pose? A, simplifies IT systems. B, no challenge. C, increases complexity and security risks. Or D, reduces efficiency. You guys seem to be unanimous on this one. Will it stay that way? Or will somebody go rogue? Somebody went rogue. Another person went rogue. All right. All right, let's reveal the answer. C, increases complexity and security risks. All right. Number 7, how can users contribute to IoT security? A, by avoiding the use of IoT devices. Wouldn't that be nice? B, keeping devices updated and secure. C, leaving security to experts. Not a bad idea. Well, and D, using devices only for essential tasks. Cast your votes. What do we think? I think just about everyone's voted, and correct. Keeping devices updated and secure. Final question for this lecture before I hand you over to my colleague. And that is question number 8. What is a trend in IoT security? A, decreasing importance. B, relying solely on manufacturers for security. C, increasing use of AI for monitoring and threat detection. Or D, focusing on physical rather than digital security. No pressure, it's the final question for this lecture. Okay, we have some people voting for all of the options. That's interesting. But a clear majority for C, and let's see if you were correct. And you were. Nice job, guys. The majority of you got all of the questions correct, so that's great. And without further ado, I'm going to pass you on to my colleague for Justin Westcott's lecture.
All righty, the final Mentimeter questions for today. A long day of lectures. Let's wrap it up with 8 questions about the Monitor Tech Framework, OT and IoT, by Justin Westcott from Datagrade, who is also a challenge provider. Let's see. First question. What is the Monitor Tech Framework primarily used for? A, network configuration. B, understanding and categorizing cyber threats. C, physical security assessments. Or D, software development. This one you should get right after watching an entire lecture about it. What is the framework itself primarily used for? After a lot of answer C's before, now almost everyone seems to think answer B. That is the correct one. Primarily used for understanding and categorizing cyber threats. Well done. Second question. How is the Monitor Tech Framework beneficial in OT security? A, it is not relevant to OT. B, it helps in tailoring defenses specific to OT environments. C, it's only useful for IT security. Or D, it reduces the need for physical security. So what is the Monitor Tech Framework's main benefits in OT security? Most of you have answered. Let's see. Yes, it does indeed help in tailoring defenses specific to OT environments. Well done. Question number 3. What challenge does IoT pose to cybersecurity? A, it decreases the overall risk. B, it poses no significant challenge. C, it introduces complex and interconnected systems. Or D, it simplifies cybersecurity. Well, ask yourself, does it increase or decrease the risk? Most of you, or the challenge, seems to think it does by introducing complex and interconnected systems. That is correct. Question number 4. How does the Monitor Tech Framework aid in incident response? A, it provides a checklist for compliance. B, it offers a structured approach to analyzing and responding to threats. C, it does provide no aid in incident response. Or D, it is only useful for preparing reports. So how does the framework itself aid in incident response? Most of you seem to think it is by offering a structured approach to analyzing and responding to threats. And that is correct. Well done. Question number 5. What is a benefit of using the Monitor Tech Framework for OT security? and perhaps read it as the biggest benefit. A, it eliminates all cybersecurity threats. Wouldn't that be nice? B, it provides insights into attacker tactics and techniques. C, it's only useful for large organizations. Or D, it reduces the need for employee training. What could be considered the main benefit of this framework for OT security? Large majority for answer B, and that is the correct answer. Well done. Only four, I'm sorry. Question number 6. How should the MITRE ATT&CK framework be integrated into cybersecurity strategies? A, as the only tool for security. B, in combination with other security frameworks and practices. C, occasionally for reference. Or D, it should not at all be integrated and only used for academic purposes. Well, obviously a lot of you think it's answer B, and we do agree with you. 2 more questions. Number 7. What role does the MITRE ATT&CK framework play in security training? One really fast answer. A, it does play no role. B, it provides a basis for realistic and effective training scenarios. C, it is only used in advanced training. Or D, it is too complex for training purposes. So what role does the ATT&CK framework play in training? Again, a large majority for B, and that is the correct answer. We've moved from only answer C to only answer B, apparently, but you never know. For the final question, number 8, how does the MITRE ATT&CK framework evolve with changing threats? A, it remains static. B, it is updated regularly to reflect new tactics and techniques of attackers, that is. C, it changes only every few years. Or D, it becomes less relevant over time. How does the MITRE ATT&CK framework evolve? It was answer B again. Well done. It is regularly updated indeed to reflect on the new tactics and techniques of attackers. Great work, everyone. Thanks for sticking around and participating in yet another Mentimeter quiz. We will see you again at the final day of SANG's lectures, which is Thursday, April 4th. Also the day to issue your challenge preferences at 12 p.m. So remember to do that. You will receive an email with all the practicalities that were presented to you today to make sure that you're up to speed on that process. We look forward to welcoming you, well, both in the challenges and on Thursday for the final 2 lectures. Thanks a lot for being here again today and for sticking around, and have a nice little break tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for sticking around and for being here for a full day of back-to-back lectures. And indeed, see you on the 4th of April, and make sure you give your challenge preferences before 12 p.m. on the 4th. Do it ASAP. It's not like it's a first come, first serve situation, but please do it ASAP. Makes our lives easier. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you on Thursday.